Okay, so for my screencast project, I'm doing O. Henry. He's an author that usually used very ironic, twisty style endings in his short story writing pieces, and it's a very unique style to him, and we'll get into that. So, just a little bit of background on O. Henry. He wrote under the pseudonym O. Henry, but his real name is actually William Sidney Porter, and he was born September 11th, 1862, and died June 5th, 1910, in New York. He also attended school, which was taught by his aunt, but after going to school for a little bit and learning from his aunt, he decided to go work in his uncle's drugstore as a clerk. In February 1896, he was indicted for embezzling bank funds. Not a very positive thing to be doing. He then fled to Honduras, but eventually came back to the United States when he heard news of his wife being very, very ill. So he was not actually arrested until after she died, which was not much time in between him coming back and her dying, but he did only receive a slight prison sentence. While he was in prison, he wrote some of the most famous stories ever. In the later years of his life, O. Henry was really pretty much very ill. He eventually died due to liver disease, which stemmed pretty much from his alcoholism, drinking his whole entire life. So, what exactly is O. Henry's style? Well, O. Henry's style can be described as a twisted way of thoughts and endings in every single one of his stories. These usually end in a humorous but also cruel kind of way, and the main description of the style is presenting a story in one way, but ending it in a way that the reader could never have seen coming, but it's usually very situationally ironic. So, just for an example, in one of his stories, The Gift of the Magi, which this is actually coming right from my essay, I say that in The Gift of the Magi, the reader sees a twist in O. Henry's writing with the extreme lengths that the young couple of Della and Jim, who are depicted, they go to when buying holiday gifts for each other. When they are finally able to afford their gifts that they have been working to be able to purchase for one another, they ironically remove the purpose of the gift through a funny series of events. Della sold her hair to afford Jim's gift, which was a chain for his watch, but Jim had already sold his watch to buy Della a nice comb set for her hair, which ended up rendering both gifts absolutely useless. This is one of the better examples of this twisted, ironic endings in his writing styles. But there are many more examples of that. So, my emulation story is about a man who lost his brother and parents when he was a young boy. He became an orphan and lived with another family, and he didn't have the greatest life growing up. But one day, he believes that he finally found his family on a train when he's riding around, and he makes contact with who he thought was his brother and father, but ends up getting knocked out and wakes up in a mental hospital. The reader is shocked and confused as his family members just beat him up, and then he wakes up in a totally new location. It's very confusing to the reader, but it's actually very funny and ironic once you find out the information behind that. So, to explain how this relates to O. Henry's writing, well, this story emulates O. Henry's writing style because the reader believes that the man has been reunited with his family, but ends up finding out that the man is mentally ill and has been ill for many years, and his family members are actually dead. It is ironic, twisted, and somewhat cruel, just like O. Henry. And that is all. Thank you very much for listening to my screencast.